I was dreading the slow, painful drive home after a grueling day at the store. My mind was consumed with numbers, figures, and the nagging feeling that something wasn't quite right. Little did I know, when I turned the corner onto our street, that I would be facing something far more unsettling than a difficult day at work. Our house, a beacon of suburban tranquility, was now a chaotic mess. Red police tape fluttered in the breeze like a warning flag. I parked the car, my heart pounding in my chest, and approached the front door, which was ajar. Inside, the place was a scene of disarray. Furniture overturned, papers scattered like confetti. It was as if a hurricane had torn through my home. My pulse quickened as I stepped cautiously inside, careful not to disturb the crime scene. I was met by a police officer, who looked up with a mix of sympathy and professionalism. "Mr. Ryan Mitchell, I presume?" "Yes, that's me. What happened?" I managed to ask, though my voice felt distant, as if it were coming from someone else. "We're investigating a break-in. It looks like the burglars were after documents and anything of value. I'm afraid we don't have much yet." The officer's tone was courteous but detached, as though he had delivered similar news countless times before. I nodded numbly, trying to take in the enormity of what had happened. As the officer walked me through the damage, my eyes kept darting to the scattered documents. Something was off. The papers didn't just look disorganized, they seemed to have been deliberately tampered with. My gut told me this wasn't just a random burglary. As soon as the police left, I began sifting through the mess. Among the strewn documents, I found several personal letters and text messages. My eyes widened as I realized they weren't just random pieces of paper. They were from my wife, Ashley, to my business partner, Vince. The messages were intimate, full of terms of endearment and plans for secret meetings. I felt the world tilt beneath me. The betrayal was staggering. Vince, the man I trusted with my business, and Ashley, my wife of 10 years, had been seeing each other behind my back. The anger that surged through me was electric, raw, and undeniable. This wasn't just about stolen documents anymore. This was about my life unraveling in the most personal way possible. I needed answers, and I needed them fast. I was determined to uncover the full extent of their deception. And if what I suspected was true, I was going to make sure they both paid for their betrayal. First, I started by reconstructing the sequence of events. I had to be meticulous. I pieced together the fragmented documents, and soon it became clear that this wasn't a simple theft. The burglars had taken only the files related to my business and personal affairs. Everything else was left untouched. As I worked, a plan began to form in my mind. If Vince and Ashley thought they could manipulate and deceive me, they had another thing coming. I was going to use every bit of knowledge and skill I had to turn the tables on them. They had crossed a line, and I would make sure they faced the consequences. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. I collected evidence, dug into Vince's and Ashley's communications, and began laying the groundwork for my revenge. My plan was simple but ruthless: to forge documents and transfer all business assets into my name, effectively leaving Vince without any means of support and stripping Ashley of her lover. By the time I had all the pieces in place, I knew I was on the brink of something both terrifying and satisfying. I had to act carefully to ensure that my plan succeeded without a hitch. Every detail mattered. One wrong move, and everything could fall apart. As I sat back and surveyed the chaos that had once been my home, I felt a cold, hard resolve settle over me. This was not the end but the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where I would take control and show them the consequences of their treachery. The following morning, I awoke with a singular focus. The anger and betrayal that had gnawed at me the night before were now channeled into something more concrete. A plan for revenge. I couldn't afford to let my emotions dictate my actions. I needed to be strategic and calculated. I started by reviewing the documents I'd salvaged from the house. The more I read, the clearer it became how deep Vince and Ashley's betrayal ran. The letters between them, the secret rendezvous. They painted a picture of deception that I was determined to dismantle. I made a list of everything I needed: access to the business accounts, the correct software for document falsification, and a way to ensure my plan remained under wraps. I began with the business accounts. Vince and I had always shared administrative access, and I still had my credentials. This would be my gateway to manipulating the financial records. By mid-morning, I was in my office, the familiar hum of the computers a strange comfort. I logged into the system and started to review the financial documents. My first task was to identify which assets were crucial and could be transferred without raising suspicion. I needed to be meticulous, one slip up and my whole plan could unravel. I spent hours drafting new versions of financial statements. It was tedious work, but I had a knack for this kind of thing. After a few days of careful editing, I had forged documents that looked just like the originals. The key was ensuring they were convincing enough to withstand any scrutiny that might come my way. Meanwhile, I also began laying the groundwork for how I would manipulate the legal aspects of the business. I hired a lawyer who was known for handling corporate restructuring, someone who wouldn't ask too many questions and would get the job done quickly. I knew that transferring ownership would require legal finesse, and I couldn't risk any mistakes. While my plan was in motion, I decided it was time to confront Vince. I needed to get him off balance, make him believe everything was under control. I called him and asked to meet for coffee, under the guise of discussing a potential new business opportunity. When we met at a cafe, Vince was his usual charming self, but there was a tension in his demeanor that I hadn't noticed before. We exchanged pleasantries and talked about business, but I could see the undercurrent of anxiety in his eyes. "So, what's this big opportunity you wanted to discuss?" Vince asked, trying to sound casual. I leaned in slightly and gave him a confident smile. "Just some restructuring ideas I've been mulling over. Thought it might be worth discussing." He seemed relieved but still wary. We chatted for a while, and I made sure to subtly drop hints about how things were moving smoothly on my end. The goal was to keep him in the dark while ensuring he felt secure enough not to dig too deep into any potential discrepancies. After the meeting, I returned to my office and reviewed the progress of my document forgeries. Everything was falling into place. I now had forged documents, a lawyer ready to execute the legal transfer, and a plan to make Vince believe all was well. The next step was to start transferring the assets. I coordinated with the lawyer to ensure everything was executed correctly, and I kept a close eye on the process. Each day brought me closer to the moment when Vince would realize his empire was crumbling around him, and Ashley would be left with nothing but regret. As I worked late into the night, a grim satisfaction settled over me. I knew I was treading dangerous waters, but I also knew that the consequences of this plan would bring a form of justice that nothing else could. I had turned the tables, and now it was only a matter of time before Vince and Ashley faced the fallout of their actions. The days that followed were a blur of activity and tension. My plan was coming to fruition, but there was no room for error. I continued to monitor every step, ensuring that everything went according to plan. The lawyer I hired was efficient, and before long, the forged documents had been submitted for processing. The assets were being transferred into my name, and I was keeping a close watch on every transaction. It was a meticulous process, but I had anticipated and prepared for every possible complication. One afternoon, I received an urgent call from the lawyer. "Ryan, we've hit a small snag. Vince is starting to notice some discrepancies in the financial records. He's getting nervous and might be questioning things." My stomach churned with a mix of anxiety and anticipation. This was a critical moment. If Vince began to dig too deeply, it could jeopardize everything. I needed to act quickly to divert his attention. I decided it was time to ramp up my strategy. I met with Vince under the pretense of discussing the restructuring plan I had hinted at during our previous coffee meeting. We met at a different cafe, one less frequented, to avoid any chance of being overheard. "Vince," I said, trying to sound as nonchalant as possible, "I wanted to assure you that everything is moving along smoothly. Any issues you might be seeing are just minor adjustments. The financial restructuring is perfectly normal." Vince seemed slightly reassured but still uneasy. "I just don't want any surprises. You know how crucial this period is for us." "Of course," I replied smoothly. "I understand. I've got everything under control. If you have any concerns, just let me know. I'm more than happy to address them." As the conversation progressed, I noticed Vince's demeanor soften a bit. He was still on edge, but my calm reassurances seemed to help. I had successfully deflected his suspicions, at least for now. Back in my office, I continued to oversee the asset transfers. The process was nearing completion, and I could see the impact it was having on Vince's financial stability. His business, which once seemed so robust, was beginning to falter. Clients and partners were starting to notice the changes, and his reputation was taking a hit. Meanwhile, I made sure to stay in touch with Ashley. I had to keep up the pretense of normalcy while secretly enjoying the turmoil I knew she would soon face. I called her and suggested we have dinner together, under the guise of discussing some upcoming plans. When she arrived at the restaurant, she seemed more preoccupied than usual. Her nervousness was palpable. I watched her with a mixture of curiosity and satisfaction. I knew she was beginning to feel the weight of the situation, though she was still unaware of the full extent of my actions. During dinner, we talked about mundane topics, trying to keep the conversation light. But I could sense that her mind was elsewhere. She occasionally glanced at her phone, as if waiting for some news. I could only imagine the turmoil she was experiencing as she began to realize that Vince's financial stability was in serious jeopardy. As the evening progressed, I could see the strain in her face. The tension was growing, and I knew that her realization of what was happening was imminent. I was prepared for her inevitable confrontation. That night, I received a frantic call from Ashley. Her voice was shaky and filled with panic. "Ryan, I need to talk to you. Something is going on with Vince's business. I'm really worried." I maintained a calm tone, masking my satisfaction. "Ashley, we'll figure it out. Just stay calm and don't make any hasty decisions." I could almost hear the gears turning in her head as she tried to piece together the puzzle. She was starting to connect the dots, and I knew that soon she would confront me with her suspicions. By the end of the week, Vince's financial situation had reached a critical point. He was scrambling to salvage what he could, but the damage was done. His empire was collapsing, and the weight of it all was beginning to crush him. Meanwhile, Ashley was becoming increasingly frantic, trying to understand why everything was falling apart so suddenly. I watched from the sidelines, knowing that the final pieces of my plan were falling into place. Vince and Ashley were both on the brink of discovering the full extent of my revenge. The stage was set, and I was ready for whatever came next. The tension in my life had reached a crescendo. Vince's business was spiraling into chaos, and Ashley was becoming increasingly distraught. I could feel the pressure building as my carefully crafted plan neared its final stages. One evening, as I was reviewing some of the final transactions and ensuring everything was in order, I received an urgent text from Ashley. It read, "We need to talk. Now." My heart raced. This was it, the moment I had been waiting for. I knew that Ashley had started to piece together the truth, and her confrontation was imminent. I called her and suggested we meet at a quiet, neutral location where we wouldn't be overheard. When we met, the look on Ashley's face was a mix of desperation and anger. She didn't waste any time with pleasantries. "Ryan, what the hell is going on? Vince's business is collapsing, and I can't get any straight answers. Are you behind this?" I kept my expression neutral, though inside I was brimming with satisfaction. "Ashley, I'm not sure what you're referring to. Vince's business problems are unfortunate, but I've been focused on managing our own affairs." "Don't lie to me," she snapped, her voice rising. "I know something is wrong. You've been too quiet, too involved in things that should be above your pay grade. This isn't just a coincidence." I took a deep breath, playing the part of the concerned husband. "Ashley, I've been dealing with a lot of complex issues. If you're worried about Vince, maybe you should talk to him directly. But don't jump to conclusions." Her frustration was palpable, and I could see the wheels turning in her mind as she tried to reconcile my calm demeanor with the chaos she was witnessing. I knew she was on the verge of discovering the full extent of my machinations. As the days went by, Vince's situation continued to deteriorate. He was scrambling to save what little he could, but his efforts were in vain. His reputation was in tatters, and the financial losses were mounting. I had succeeded in severing his financial lifeline, and he was now left with a crumbling empire. Ashley, meanwhile, was growing more frantic. She was desperately trying to find answers, and her attempts to salvage her relationship with Vince were proving futile. Her calls and messages became more urgent and erratic, as she tried to piece together the shattered fragments of her life. One night, I received another call from Ashley. Her voice was a mixture of defeat and desperation. "Ryan, I need you to come home. We have to talk." I agreed, and when I arrived, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Ashley was pacing the living room, her face drawn and pale. "I don't understand. Vince is out of options, and I can't get any answers. I've checked our accounts, and there are discrepancies, huge ones." I feigned concern. "Discrepancies? What kind of discrepancies?" "The kind that suggest someone manipulated the accounts," she said, her voice trembling. And I have a sinking feeling that it's connected to you. Did you do something to Vince's business? I could see the pain and confusion in her eyes, and for a moment, I felt a pang of guilt. But I pushed it aside. Ashley, I had nothing to do with Vince's troubles. Maybe he made some bad decisions. You should focus on how we can move forward. Her face crumpled as the realization began to sink in. The pieces were falling into place, and she was finally seeing the full picture of my revenge. She sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. How could you do this? She sobbed. How could you be so cruel? I took a deep breath, maintaining my calm facade. Ashley, you and Vince made a choice to betray me. This is the consequence of those actions. I did what I had to do to protect myself and my interests. The finality in my voice seemed to cut through the haze of her emotions. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. So this is it? You're just going to leave me here, with nothing? I nodded, feeling a cold satisfaction. Yes, this is it. I've taken back what was mine, and now you have to deal with the fallout. As I left the house, I felt a mixture of relief and emptiness. My plan had worked flawlessly, and Vince and Ashley were left to deal with the consequences of their betrayal. The stage was set for their downfall, and I had successfully reclaimed control over my life and my business. But as I drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling that the final act of this drama was yet to come. The fallout from my actions was only beginning to unfold, and I knew that there would be more challenges ahead. The fallout from my actions was unfolding with a speed that was both exhilarating and unsettling. As the days passed, the reality of what I had done began to sink in. Vince's empire was in tatters, and Ashley was left to face the consequences of her choices. Yet, I knew that the final act of this drama was still to come. I continued to monitor the situation closely. Vince's financial problems were making headlines in the business community, and it wasn't long before rumors about his downfall began to spread. The news was causing a ripple effect, and I knew that it was only a matter of time before my involvement would come to light. One afternoon, as I was reviewing the latest updates on the asset transfers, I received a call from my lawyer. Ryan, we need to talk. There's been a development. I felt a jolt of anxiety. What's happened? It seems that Vince is planning to take legal action, the lawyer said. He's accusing you of fraud and manipulation. If he pursues this, it could get messy. A cold chill ran down my spine. Vince was fighting back, and I had to be prepared for the possibility that my carefully laid plans might unravel. What should I do? We need to be proactive, the lawyer advised. We'll have to counter any accusations with our own evidence and make sure everything is airtight. I'll handle the legal strategy, but you should be ready for a potential court battle. I agreed and began gathering all the documentation and evidence I had used to execute the asset transfers. I wanted to ensure that I had a solid defense in place. It was a painstaking process, but I had no choice but to be thorough. Meanwhile, Ashley had been trying to contact me, but I had been avoiding her calls. I was determined to maintain my distance and keep my focus on managing the fallout. However, I knew that her attempts to reach out were only going to increase as the situation worsened. One evening, as I was going over some legal documents, I received a text from Ashley, please. Ryan, let's talk. I need to understand everything that's happened. I hesitated for a moment before replying. Fine, we can meet, but this is your last chance to hear my side of the story. We met at a small park, away from prying eyes. Ashley looked tired and worn out, her eyes red from lack of sleep and stress. We sat on a bench, and she wasted no time getting to the point. Ryan, I don't understand. Why did you go this far? Vince and I made mistakes, but this is more than I ever imagined. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. Ashley, what you and Vince did was a betrayal. I needed to protect myself and my business. The actions I took were necessary to regain control and prevent further damage. But at what cost? She asked, her voice cracking. Vince is ruined, and I'm left with nothing. This isn't just about business anymore. It's personal. I looked at her, feeling a pang of guilt, but I remained firm. I understand that you're hurting, but the consequences of your actions are real. I had to make a choice, and I chose to protect myself. Ashley's shoulders slumped as she absorbed my words. So, what happens now? I don't know, I admitted. The legal battle with Vince is just beginning, and the repercussions are still unfolding. But I can't undo what's been done. As we parted ways, I couldn't help but feel a sense of finality. The pieces were falling into place, and the consequences of my actions were becoming clearer. Vince's business was collapsing, and Ashley was facing the harsh reality of her choices. The legal battle that followed was intense. Vince's accusations of fraud and manipulation led to a series of court hearings and investigations. I was prepared, and with the help of my lawyer, we countered every claim with solid evidence. It was a grueling process, but I was determined to see it through. In the end, the court ruled in my favor. Vince's claims were dismissed, and the legal battle concluded with a verdict that reinforced my position. The business community moved on, and Vince's name became a cautionary tale of failure. Ashley, on the other hand, chose to leave town. She needed to escape the aftermath of everything that had happened and start anew. As I watched her leave, I couldn't help but feel a mixture of relief and regret. The storm had passed, but the scars remained. As I settled back into my life, I focused on rebuilding and moving forward. The betrayal had left its mark, but I was determined to create a new beginning. The lessons learned from this ordeal were harsh, but they had forged a path for a future where I could reclaim control and rebuild what was lost. The reckoning had come, and though the road ahead was uncertain, I was ready to face it with a new perspective and renewed resolve. The dust had finally settled from the legal battles and the upheaval in my life. Vince's business was a shell of its former self, and Ashley had left town, presumably to start over. My world, while less chaotic, was far from normal. The ramifications of my actions were still reverberating, and I was keenly aware of the complexity of emotions that came with such a drastic resolution. The first few weeks after the court ruling were a period of intense introspection. I threw myself into work, trying to keep my mind occupied and avoid dwelling on the emotional fallout. But despite my best efforts, the consequences of my actions began to sink in. One afternoon, I was in my office, reviewing new business strategies when I received a call from one of Vince's former associates. His voice was hesitant but firm. "Mr. Mitchell, I've heard about what happened. Vince is out of the picture. And I'm looking to discuss potential opportunities with you." I was caught off guard but intrigued. "What kind of opportunities are we talking about?" "There's a chance to acquire some of Vince's remaining assets at a discount," the associate said. "It could be a lucrative deal for you, but I wanted to discuss it with you before moving forward." I considered the offer. Vince's downfall had left a vacuum in the market, and acquiring his assets could give me a significant advantage. But I needed to be cautious. This was not just about business. It was about making sure that any new ventures were not tainted by the lingering shadows of my past actions. "I'm interested," I replied cautiously. "Let's set up a meeting to discuss the details." The meeting was scheduled for the following week. As I prepared for it, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had led me here. The betrayal, the revenge, and the eventual resolution had left their mark on me. I was more guarded now, more aware of the fragility of trust and the consequences of every decision. When the day of the meeting arrived, I met with Vince's former associate at a quiet restaurant. The discussion was straightforward. The associate presented the details of Vince's remaining assets, and we discussed the potential benefits and risks of acquiring them. By the end of the meeting, I had decided to move forward with the acquisition. It was a strategic move that would bolster my business and help me recover some of the losses from the tumultuous period. But even as I signed the paperwork, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a business decision. It was a way to reclaim a sense of normalcy and control in the aftermath of chaos. As I settled into the new business arrangement, I began to rebuild my personal life as well. I focused on repairing relationships with friends and family who had been affected by the upheaval. It was a slow process, but I was determined to make amends and move forward with a renewed sense of purpose. One evening, I received a letter from Ashley. It was a brief but heartfelt note, expressing her regret and acknowledging the pain caused by her actions. She wrote that she was starting over and hoped that one day we could find a way to heal from the past. Reading her letter, I felt a complex mix of emotions. There was no going back, but I appreciated her attempt to reach out. It was a reminder that even in the midst of revenge and retribution, there was a need for closure and understanding. The next few months were a period of reconstruction. I integrated the new assets into my business, re-established connections, and focused on personal growth. The echoes of revenge were fading, replaced by a sense of forward momentum and a clearer perspective on life. As I looked back on everything that had transpired, I realized that the journey had been one of transformation. The betrayal, the revenge, and the eventual resolution had changed me in profound ways. I had learned the importance of trust, the complexities of human relationships, and the cost of seeking retribution. With the past behind me and a renewed focus on the future, I felt a sense of optimism for what lay ahead. The road to recovery was still ongoing, but I was ready to face it with resilience and a newfound understanding of the delicate balance between personal and professional life. The echoes of revenge had faded into the background, leaving me with the opportunity to build a new chapter, one defined by growth, redemption, and a deeper appreciation for the life I had fought so hard to reclaim. Months had passed since the legal battles concluded and the business acquisitions were settled. Life had gradually returned to a semblance of normalcy, though the echoes of the past still lingered in the recesses of my mind. I was determined to move forward and build a new chapter in both my personal and professional life. The new assets from Vince's business were proving to be a boon. My company was thriving, and the added resources allowed me to explore new opportunities and expand my operations. It was a welcome distraction, and I poured myself into work with renewed vigor. The satisfaction of seeing my business flourish was a testament to the resilience and determination that had carried me through the tumultuous times. One evening, as I was finalizing some reports in my office, my phone rang. It was a call from an old friend, Mark, who had been out of touch for a while. "Ryan, I heard about everything that's happened. I wanted to check in and see how you're doing." I appreciated the gesture and welcomed the chance to reconnect. "Hey, Mark, it's good to hear from you. I've been busy with work, but I'm doing all right. How about you?" Mark's voice was warm and reassuring. "I'm doing well. I heard about the challenges you faced, and I just wanted to offer my support. If you need anything or just want to catch up, let me know." We agreed to meet for dinner, and when we did, the conversation flowed easily. Mark had always been a good friend, and our talk was a refreshing change from the business and personal issues that had occupied my mind. It was a reminder that despite everything, life still had its moments of simplicity and connection. As we caught up, Mark asked about my plans for the future. "So, what's next for you, Ryan? Now that things are settling down, have you thought about what you want to achieve moving forward?" I thought about his question and realized that the turmoil of the past had given me a clearer perspective on what truly mattered. "I'm focusing on expanding my business and investing in new opportunities. But I'm also thinking about giving back, finding ways to support causes that are important to me." Mark nodded, clearly pleased with my response. "That sounds like a great plan. It's important to use your success to make a positive impact. If you need help with any projects or initiatives, just let me know." As the weeks went by, I began to channel my energy into new ventures that aligned with my values. I started a philanthropic initiative aimed at supporting local communities and providing resources for small businesses. It was a way to give back and create something positive out of the hardships I had faced. The response to the initiative was overwhelmingly positive. It felt good to see the tangible impact of our efforts and to know that I was making a difference in people's lives. The work was fulfilling and provided a sense of purpose that went beyond the boardroom. In addition to my philanthropic efforts, I made an effort to reconnect with family and friends. The relationships that had been strained or neglected during the turbulent period were mended. And I found solace in rebuilding those connections. It was a reminder that, despite the challenges, there was always room for growth and reconciliation. One day, while attending a community event organized by the initiative, I ran into an old acquaintance from the business world. He approached me with a friendly smile. "Ryan, it's good to see you. I heard about the changes and wanted to catch up. How are things going?" We chatted about the changes in the industry and the positive impact of my new ventures. The conversation was pleasant, and I realized that I had come full circle. The past was behind me, and I was now focused on building a future that was defined by purpose and positivity. As I looked around at the people I was helping and the relationships I was rebuilding, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The journey had been long and challenging, but it had led me to a place where I could embrace a new beginning with optimism and hope. The echoes of revenge were fading into history, replaced by the promise of a brighter future. With each step forward, I was creating a new narrative, one that was defined not by the past, but by the possibilities of what lay ahead. And as I moved into this new chapter of my life, I was ready to face the future with resilience, gratitude, and a renewed sense of purpose. Life had settled into a rhythm of renewed purpose and stability. My business was thriving, my philanthropic efforts were making a tangible difference, and my personal relationships were mending. I had managed to find a sense of balance and fulfillment, and the shadows of the past seemed to be receding. One afternoon, as I was attending a charity event hosted by one of our new partners, I noticed someone approaching me from across the room. It was an unfamiliar face, yet there was something strikingly familiar about him. As he drew closer, my curiosity was piqued. "Ryan Mitchell?" he asked with a hint of recognition in his voice. I nodded, offering a polite smile. "Yes, that's me. How can I help you?" He extended his hand for a handshake. "I'm Tom Carter. I used to work with Vince before everything went south. I've heard about the changes and wanted to introduce myself." My mind raced as I processed his introduction. "Oh, right. I remember Vince mentioning you. How can I assist you today?" Tom's expression was serious but friendly. "I've been following the news and saw your recent philanthropic work. I wanted to discuss a potential collaboration. There's a project I'm working on that I think aligns with your goals." Intrigued, I agreed to meet with him later that week. When we met, Tom explained his project in detail. It was a new initiative aimed at supporting entrepreneurs in underserved communities, providing them with resources and mentorship. The project was ambitious and aligned perfectly with my own philanthropic goals. "This sounds like a fantastic opportunity," I said after listening to Tom's pitch. "How can we get involved?" Tom outlined the specifics of the collaboration, and we discussed potential ways to support the initiative. It was clear that his passion for the project matched my own desire to make a positive impact, and I was excited about the possibility of working together. As we wrapped up the meeting, Tom's demeanor shifted slightly. "Ryan, I need to ask you something personal. I've heard some of the backstory about what happened with Vince and Ashley. I don't want to pry, but I'm curious about how you've managed to move forward." I was taken aback by his question but decided to be open. "It's been a challenging journey. But I've focused on rebuilding and finding purpose in new ways. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary." Tom nodded thoughtfully. "I can imagine. It takes a lot of strength to turn things around after such a difficult period." "I respect that." Our conversation turned back to business, and we outlined the next steps for our collaboration. As Tom left, I felt a renewed sense of optimism. The project with Tom had the potential to make a significant impact, and I was eager to get started. A few days later, while attending another community event, I received an unexpected message from Ashley. It was a brief text. "Can we meet? I need to talk to you." My first reaction was a mix of apprehension and curiosity. Despite the passage of time, I had not heard from her since her departure. I decided to agree to the meeting, curious about what she wanted to discuss. We met at a quiet cafe, and Ashley looked both nervous and determined. As we sat down, she took a deep breath. "Ryan, I know this is unexpected, but I needed to see you. I've been reflecting on everything that happened, and I wanted to apologize for my part in the mess." I listened as she continued. "I've been trying to rebuild my life, and it's been a struggle. I've realized how much I hurt you, and I wanted to express my regret and ask for your forgiveness." Her words were sincere, and I could see the genuine remorse in her eyes. I took a moment to consider my response. The pain of the past was still there, but I had also moved forward and found a sense of closure. "Ashley, I appreciate your apology," I said carefully. "It's been a long road, but I found a way to move on. I hope that you're finding the healing you need." We talked for a while longer, discussing our respective journeys and how we had both been affected by the past. It was a bittersweet conversation, marked by a mixture of nostalgia and acceptance. As we parted ways, I felt a sense of closure. The chapter with Ashley had come full circle, and I was ready to continue forward with the newfound understanding and resolution. With the unexpected reunion behind me and the new project with Tom on the horizon, I looked ahead with a renewed sense of purpose. The past had shaped me, but it no longer defined me. The future was a canvas of possibilities, and I was determined to embrace it with optimism and a commitment to making a positive impact. Just as I began to settle into this new chapter of life, an unexpected twist emerged that threatened to unravel the delicate balance I had worked so hard to achieve. The news came in the form of a call from my lawyer, which, given my recent experiences, immediately set off alarm bells. "Ryan, we have a situation," the lawyer's voice was grave. "It seems there's been an issue with the asset transfers. Some of Vince's former associates are claiming that there were irregularities and are threatening legal action." My heart sank. What kind of irregularities are we talking about? They're alleging that there were discrepancies in the documentation and that some assets may have been transferred under false pretenses. The lawyer explained, "We need to address this quickly before it escalates further." I felt a surge of anxiety. The thought of the past coming back to haunt me was disheartening. What do we need to do? We'll need to conduct a thorough review of all the documentation and prepare to defend against these claims, the lawyer advised. I'll start by gathering evidence to refute these allegations, but you should also be prepared for potential fallout. I agreed to meet with the lawyer the next day to go over the details. The feeling of déjà vu was unsettling. It was as if the ghosts of the past were resurfacing to challenge my hard-earned stability. The following morning, I gathered all the necessary documents and met with my lawyer. We spent hours poring over every detail, ensuring that everything was in order. It was a painstaking process, but I was determined to make sure that any potential issues were addressed before they could escalate. As we worked, my phone buzzed with a message from Tom Carter. "Ryan, I heard about the situation. I wanted to let you know that I'm here to support you if needed." I appreciated Tom's gesture and called him to explain the situation. "Thanks for reaching out, Tom. This situation is more complex than I anticipated, and any support is welcome." Tom was understanding and offered to help in any way he could. His support was a reminder that, even in the midst of challenges, there were allies who stood by me. The days that followed were filled with tension and uncertainty. The allegations made headlines, and the scrutiny from the media added another layer of pressure. I continued to work closely with my lawyer, providing all the necessary evidence to refute the claims. As we prepared for the potential legal battle, I decided to take a proactive approach and address the issue publicly. I arranged a press conference to address the allegations and present the evidence that proved the legitimacy of the asset transfers. The press conference was a tense affair. I spoke confidently, presenting the documentation and refuting the claims of irregularities. The media coverage was intense, but I felt a sense of empowerment in taking control of the narrative. Despite the pressure, the support from Tom and my team was invaluable. We continued to work diligently, ensuring that every aspect of the situation was addressed. The legal battle was inevitable, but I was determined to face it head-on and protect the integrity of my actions. One evening, as I was reviewing the latest developments, I received an email from Ashley. It was brief but intriguing. "I've been following the news and have some information that might be relevant. Can we meet?" I was taken aback but agreed to the meeting. When we met, Ashley appeared tense but resolved. "Ryan, I know we've had our differences, but I've come across something that might help with the current situation. I found some documents that suggest Vince may have been involved in some questionable activities." She handed me a folder with documents and explained that she had come across them while dealing with Vince's legal and financial issues. The documents appeared to contain evidence that could potentially refute the claims against me. I thanked Ashley for the information and promised to review it carefully. Her unexpected assistance was a reminder that even in the midst of conflict, there could be moments of unexpected collaboration. As I reviewed the documents, it became clear that they could provide crucial evidence in the upcoming legal proceedings. The twist in the story was a reminder that the past was never truly behind us, and new developments could arise at any moment. With this new information, I felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. The upcoming legal battle was far from over, but I was now better equipped to face the challenges ahead. The unexpected twist had given me a fighting chance, and I was ready to take on whatever came next. The journey had taken another turn, but I was prepared to navigate it with resilience and resolve. The future was uncertain, but with the support of those who stood by me and the evidence to support my position, I was ready to confront the challenges and emerge stronger on the other side. The new evidence provided by Ashley was a game changer. As I reviewed the documents, it became evident that Vince had been involved in activities that could undermine his credibility and the accusations he had leveled against me. This revelation was both a blessing and a curse. While it provided a potential lifeline, it also meant that the legal storm was far from over. The following week, my legal team and I worked tirelessly to incorporate the new evidence into our defense strategy. The documents indicated that Vince had been engaged in questionable financial practices, which could shift the focus of the case and cast doubt on his claims. The day of the court hearing arrived, and the atmosphere was charged with tension. I walked into the courtroom, my mind racing with thoughts of the potential outcomes. The press was in attendance, their cameras flashing and reporters scribbling notes. It was a media circus and the stakes were high. As the hearing commenced, my lawyer presented the new evidence to the court. The documents were scrutinized, and the atmosphere in the courtroom shifted as the implications of Vince's actions became clear. The judge listened intently, and the opposing counsel appeared increasingly agitated. In the midst of the proceedings, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought me here. The betrayal, the revenge, and the unexpected twists had all led to this moment. It was a culmination of everything I had fought for, and the outcome of this hearing would determine the next steps in my life. Throughout the day, the court sessions were intense. The opposing side tried to counter our evidence with their own arguments, but the discrepancies in Vince's financial records were becoming more evident. The testimony of the witnesses and the documentation provided a strong defense against the allegations. As the day drew to a close, the judge announced a recess, giving both sides time to prepare for closing arguments. I took a deep breath, trying to stay focused and calm. The next few hours would be crucial in determining the final verdict. During the recess, I met with my lawyer to discuss our closing argument strategy. We need to emphasize the credibility of the new evidence and highlight the inconsistencies in the opposing side's claims, my lawyer said. It's crucial to drive home the point that Vince's actions have cast doubt on his accusations. I nodded in agreement. Let's make sure our argument is as compelling as possible. This is our chance to set the record straight. When the court reconvened, both sides presented their closing arguments. My lawyer eloquently summarized our position, presenting the evidence and making a persuasive case for the court to dismiss the allegations. The opposing counsel did their best to refute our claims, but it was clear that the new evidence had shifted the balance in our favor. As the judge deliberated, the room was filled with a heavy silence. The tension was palpable, and I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on me. My future, and the outcome of everything I had worked for, was hanging in the balance. Finally, the judge returned to the courtroom and delivered the verdict. After reviewing the evidence and considering the arguments presented, the court finds in favor of the defendant, Ryan Mitchell. The claims of irregularities are dismissed, and the case is closed. A wave of relief washed over me. The verdict was a validation of the efforts and sacrifices I had made. The legal storm had passed, and the path was now clear for me to move forward. As the courtroom began to empty, I took a moment to reflect on the journey. The past had been a tumultuous ride, but it had led me to a place of clarity and resolution. The legal battles were behind me, and I could now focus on rebuilding and moving forward. In the weeks that followed, I continued to work on my business and philanthropic initiatives. The support from friends, colleagues, and allies like Tom was instrumental in helping me navigate this new phase. The challenges had been formidable, but they had also provided valuable lessons and insights. Ashley's unexpected contribution had been a crucial factor in resolving the legal issues. And I was grateful for her assistance. We had managed to find a measure of closure and understanding, and I hoped that she too would find the path to healing and growth. The legal storm had been a significant chapter in my life, but it was now time to turn the page and focus on the future. The lessons learned and the experiences gained had shaped me in ways I could not have anticipated. With the past behind me and a renewed sense of purpose, I was ready to embrace the opportunities and challenges that lay ahead. With the legal storm behind me, I finally felt a sense of calm returning to my life. The courtroom drama had come to an end, and the weight of the accusations and the media frenzy had faded. Now, it was time to focus on rebuilding and moving forward with a renewed sense of purpose. I threw myself into my business with a newfound vigor. The recent legal battle had reinforced the importance of maintaining integrity and transparency, and I was determined to apply these principles as I expanded my company. New projects were on the horizon, and I was excited about the potential they held. One morning, I received an invitation to speak at a business conference. The theme was resilience in adversity, and the opportunity to share my journey and insights was both humbling and motivating. I accepted the invitation and began preparing my speech, reflecting on the lessons I had learned throughout the tumultuous period. As I prepared for the conference, I received an update from Tom Carter about our collaborative project. Ryan, the initiative is gaining traction, and we're seeing a lot of interest from potential partners. It's exciting to see the impact we're making. I was thrilled by the progress and appreciated Tom's dedication to the cause. That's great news, Tom. Let's continue to push forward and make the most of this opportunity. The conference day arrived, and I stood before an audience eager to hear about overcoming challenges and finding success in the face of adversity. As I shared my story, I spoke candidly about the betrayal, the revenge, and the eventual resolution. I emphasized the importance of resilience, integrity, and learning from difficult experiences. The response from the audience was overwhelmingly positive. People approached me afterward to share their own stories and express their appreciation for my openness. It was a powerful reminder of the strength that comes from confronting adversity and finding a path forward. As the conference concluded, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The experience had been cathartic, and it had solidified my commitment to making a positive impact in both my personal and professional life. In the following weeks, I continued to focus on my business and philanthropic efforts. The projects with Tom's initiative were progressing well, and the feedback from the communities we were supporting was encouraging. It was fulfilling to see the tangible difference we were making and to know that our efforts were helping to empower others. One evening, while I was reviewing some project reports, I received an unexpected visit from an old friend, Laura. She had been a close confidant during the early stages of the ordeal, and her presence was a welcome reminder of the support network that had helped me through the toughest times. "Ryan, I heard about the recent developments and wanted to see how you're doing," Laura said with a warm smile. "It's good to see you, Laura," I replied, welcoming her into my office. "Things are finally settling down. The legal battles are behind me, and I'm focusing on new opportunities." Laura's eyes lit up with relief. "I'm glad to hear that. You've been through so much, and it's inspiring to see how you're moving forward." We spent the evening catching up and reflecting on the journey. Laura's support had been invaluable, and it was comforting to reconnect with someone who had witnessed the highs and lows of the past year. As the night drew to a close, I felt a sense of gratitude for the people who had stood by me and the experiences that had shaped my journey. The challenges had been formidable, but they had led to a renewed perspective on life and a deeper appreciation for the opportunities ahead. With the past firmly behind me and a clear vision for the future, I looked forward to the new horizons that awaited. The journey had been one of transformation, and I was ready to embrace the next chapter with optimism and resolve. The lessons learned and the growth achieved had prepared me for whatever lay ahead. As I moved forward, I was committed to using my experiences to inspire others and to continue making a positive impact in the world. The future was bright, and I was eager to see where it would lead. As my focus shifted to new ventures and personal growth, I encountered a new and unexpected challenge. An old acquaintance reappeared in my life, bringing with him both opportunity and complications. The past was making yet another appearance, but this time, it came in a form I hadn't anticipated. One morning, I was at my office, reviewing the latest reports from our philanthropic projects when my assistant informed me that someone named Eric Daniels was here to see me. Eric was a name I hadn't heard in years. He was once a business associate of Vince's, and his reputation was mixed at best. When Eric walked into my office, I was immediately struck by his confident demeanor. He extended his hand with a firm handshake. "Ryan Mitchell, good to see you again." I shook his hand, keeping my expression neutral. "Eric, it's been a while. What brings you here today?" Eric took a seat and began. "I'm aware of the recent developments involving Vince and the legal troubles you've faced. I'm not here to dredge up old issues, but rather to discuss a potential collaboration." My curiosity was piqued. "A collaboration? What kind of collaboration?" Eric leaned forward, his expression serious. "I've been working on a new initiative aimed at revitalizing struggling businesses in urban areas. I know you've been involved in similar projects, and I think there's a significant opportunity for us to join forces. Given your recent experiences and success, your insights and resources could be invaluable." The proposal was intriguing. My experience with Vince and the legal battles had given me a unique perspective on business operations and the importance of ethical practices. The idea of combining our efforts to help struggling businesses aligned with my goals. "What exactly do you have in mind?" I asked, wanting to understand more about his vision. Eric outlined his plan in detail. The initiative aimed to provide financial support, mentorship, and resources to small businesses in underprivileged areas. It was a well-structured program with the potential to make a real impact, and the prospect of collaborating on such a project was compelling. "I'm interested," I said after considering his proposal. but I need to know more about how you plan to implement this and what kind of commitment you're looking for. Eric provided further details about the project, including the structure, funding requirements, and the goals he hoped to achieve. The initiative was ambitious, but it had the potential to address significant issues in underserved communities. As we discussed the details, I realized that Eric's offer was not just about collaboration, it was also an opportunity to leverage my experience and resources for a meaningful cause. Despite our complicated history, the chance to work together on a project with such potential was worth considering. After the meeting, I took time to reflect on the proposal. The idea of forming an alliance with Eric was unexpected, but it could be a chance to create positive change and build something lasting. I consulted with my team and discussed the potential benefits and risks of the collaboration. The feedback from my team was mixed, but overall, they recognized the potential of the project. We decided to move forward with a preliminary agreement to explore the feasibility of the collaboration and to ensure that all aspects of the initiative aligned with our goals and values. In the weeks that followed, Eric and I worked closely to finalize the details of our partnership. We held meetings with potential stakeholders, secured funding, and outlined the implementation plan. The process was rigorous, but it was clear that we were both committed to making the initiative a success. One evening, as I reviewed the final preparations for the launch, I received a call from Tom Carter. "Ryan, I heard about your new collaboration with Eric. It sounds like a significant project. How's everything going?" "It's going well," I replied. "We're finalizing the details and preparing for the launch. The project has the potential to make a real difference, and I'm excited about it." Tom's voice was encouraging. "I'm glad to hear that. If there's anything I can do to support you or the initiative, just let me know." His offer of support was appreciated, and it reinforced the importance of maintaining strong connections and alliances. As I prepared for the project's launch, I was grateful for the network of individuals who had supported me through the ups and downs. The day of the launch arrived, and the event was a success. The initiative was officially underway, and the response from the community was overwhelmingly positive. The collaboration with Eric had opened a new chapter in my life, one that was defined by the potential to create lasting change. As I looked around at the people we were helping and the excitement surrounding the project, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The unexpected alliance had led to a meaningful opportunity, and I was ready to embrace the challenges and successes that lay ahead. With the project launched and the future looking bright, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and optimism. The journey had been filled with twists and turns, but each step had brought me closer to a vision of making a positive impact in the world. As I moved forward, I was excited about the possibilities and ready to face whatever came next with determination and hope. The new initiative was gaining momentum, and the positive impact on the community was becoming increasingly evident. As the project progressed, I found myself deeply immersed in the day-to-day operations and the relationships we were building. The challenges were significant, but the rewards were even greater. One afternoon, as I was reviewing progress reports, I received an unexpected visitor, an old friend from my college days, Sam Reynolds. Sam had always been a source of support and wisdom, and his presence was a welcome distraction from the pressures of the current project. "Ryan, it's been ages," Sam exclaimed as he walked into my office with a broad smile. "I heard about your new project and wanted to see how you're doing." "It's great to see you, Sam," I replied, shaking his hand. "Things have been busy but rewarding. The project is going well, and we're making a real difference." Sam took a seat and looked around the office. "I've been following your journey, and I'm impressed by how you've turned things around. I wanted to catch up and see if there's anything I can do to help." I appreciated his offer and updated him on the project's progress. "Actually, there's always room for more support. We're expanding our outreach efforts, and any assistance in networking or finding additional resources would be valuable." Sam nodded thoughtfully. "I know a few people who might be interested in getting involved. Let me make some calls and see what I can do." Over the next few weeks, Sam's connections proved to be invaluable. He introduced me to potential partners and donors who were eager to support our initiative. The additional resources and support helped us expand our reach and enhance the services we provided to local businesses. One day, as I was attending a networking event organized by Sam, I ran into an old acquaintance from the industry, Megan Foster, a successful entrepreneur with a reputation for innovation. Megan had been instrumental in several high-profile projects, and her expertise was highly respected. "Ryan, it's been a while." Megan greeted me warmly. "I heard about your recent work and wanted to congratulate you. Your initiative is making waves." "Thanks, Megan," I said, pleased to see her. "It's been an exciting journey. And we're seeing some great results. I'd love to hear more about what you're working on these days." We spent the evening discussing our respective projects and exploring potential areas of collaboration. Megan's insights were incredibly valuable, and her enthusiasm for the initiative was infectious. By the end of the evening, we had agreed to explore ways to integrate some of Megan's innovative approaches into our program. As the collaboration with Megan took shape, it brought a new level of energy and creativity to the project. Her ideas for leveraging technology and streamlining processes added a fresh perspective, and the results were immediately evident. One evening, while reviewing the latest updates, I received a message from Eric Daniels. "Ryan, I've been reflecting on our progress and wanted to discuss some new opportunities. There's potential for further expansion, and I think we should explore it." Curious about his proposal, I arranged a meeting with Eric. When we met, he presented a detailed plan for expanding our initiative into new regions and incorporating additional services. His vision was ambitious, but it aligned with the goals we had set for the project. "I'm on board," I said after reviewing the plan. "Let's move forward and see how we can make this a reality." The expansion was met with enthusiasm from both our team and the communities we served. It was exciting to see the ripple effect of our efforts spreading to new areas, creating opportunities and fostering growth in regions that needed it most. As the project continued to evolve, I took a moment to reflect on the journey. The challenges and setbacks had led to unexpected alliances and opportunities, and the impact we were making was far beyond what I had originally imagined. The ripple effect of our work was a testament to the power of resilience, collaboration, and vision. The initiative had not only transformed communities but also had a profound impact on my own life. It had reaffirmed my belief in the power of positive change and the importance of using one's experiences to drive meaningful progress. As I looked toward the future, I was filled with a sense of accomplishment and anticipation. The journey had been marked by twists and turns, but it had ultimately led to a place of purpose and fulfillment. With the support of my network and the continued success of the project, I was excited to see where the next chapter would lead. The ripple effect of our work had created a momentum that was unstoppable. The future was bright, and I was ready to embrace the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead with renewed energy and optimism. As the expansion of the initiative continued to flourish, a sense of accomplishment and stability seemed to settle into my life. The project was gaining recognition, and the positive feedback from the communities we were helping was both heartening and validating. However, beneath the surface of success, an unseen threat was beginning to emerge. It started subtly: a few minor discrepancies in the financial reports, some inconsistencies in the project's progress metrics. At first, I dismissed them as minor errors. But as the issues persisted, I realized that something more serious might be at play. One afternoon, while reviewing the financial statements for the latest quarter, I noticed a series of unexplained transactions. They were small but frequent, and they seemed to be affecting the project's budget. Concerned, I decided to dig deeper. I enlisted the help of a trusted auditor, Susan Matthews, to conduct a thorough review of our financial records. "Susan, I've noticed some discrepancies in the reports, and I need your expertise to uncover what's going on," I explained. Susan agreed to take on the task and began her investigation. Over the next few days, she meticulously combed through the documents and transactions, looking for any signs of irregularities or fraud. In the meantime, I reached out to Megan Foster to discuss our recent developments. "Megan, I need to let you know that we're facing some financial inconsistencies. I'm working with an auditor to get to the bottom of it." Megan's concern was evident. "Thanks for keeping me in the loop, Ryan. If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know." As Susan's investigation progressed, she uncovered troubling evidence, unauthorized transfers and manipulated records that pointed to potential internal sabotage. The situation was serious, and it was clear that someone with access to our financial systems had been tampering with the data. "We need to act quickly," Susan advised after presenting her findings. "The evidence suggests that someone from within the organization might be involved. We should consider additional security measures and possibly notify the authorities." The revelation was a blow to our sense of security. The idea that someone from within the team could be undermining our efforts was both disturbing and unsettling. I knew that we had to take immediate action to address the issue and protect the integrity of the project. I convened an emergency meeting with key members of the team, including Eric and Megan. We've encountered serious financial discrepancies that appeared to be the result of sabotage, I informed them. We need to address this issue and ensure that our operations remain secure. The room was filled with a mix of shock and concern. Eric spoke up, "This is a serious situation. We need to investigate thoroughly and take appropriate measures to safeguard our project and our team." Megan nodded in agreement. "I'll support any actions needed to resolve this issue. The integrity of the project is paramount." Together, we developed a plan to address the threat. We increased security protocols, conducted a comprehensive internal audit, and engaged a forensic investigator to trace the origins of the sabotage. Additionally, we implemented tighter controls over financial transactions and access to sensitive information. As the investigation continued, it became clear that the sabotage was more extensive than initially thought. The forensic investigator identified a pattern of deliberate tampering designed to undermine the project's financial stability. During this time, I remained focused on maintaining transparency and communicating with our stakeholders. The integrity of the project was crucial, and I wanted to ensure that we managed the situation with honesty and clarity. One evening, while reviewing the latest updates from the forensic investigator, I received an anonymous tip-off via email. The message contained a hint about the identity of the person responsible for the sabotage and suggested that the motive might be related to personal grievances or financial gain. The tip-off provided a crucial lead, and I shared the information with Susan and the investigator. It became apparent that the sabotage was not random but targeted, and the individual responsible had a clear motive. The investigation ultimately led to the discovery of the saboteur, one of our senior staff members who had been manipulating the financial records for personal gain. The individual was promptly terminated, and legal action was taken to recover the stolen funds and address the damages caused. The revelation was a harsh reminder of the vulnerabilities that can exist even within a well-managed organization. However, the swift and decisive actions we took helped to restore confidence in the project and ensured that we could continue our work with renewed vigilance. As the crisis was resolved and normal operations resumed, I took a moment to reflect on the experience. The unforeseen threat had tested our resilience and highlighted the importance of vigilance and integrity. The experience reinforced the need for ongoing diligence and the value of a strong, transparent team. With the threat behind us and the project back on track, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The journey had been marked by challenges, but each obstacle had contributed to our growth and success. As we moved forward, I was committed to maintaining the highest standards of security and transparency, ensuring that our efforts continued to make a positive impact on the communities we served. The experience had been a valuable lesson, and I was ready to face whatever came next with a strengthened resolve and a clear focus on our mission. The future was filled with possibilities, and I was eager to embrace them with confidence and determination. With the threat of sabotage behind us and our project back on track, it was clear that rebuilding trust was the next crucial step. The recent events had shaken the confidence of our stakeholders and partners, and it was important to address their concerns and reaffirm our commitment to the initiative's success. One morning, I scheduled a series of meetings with key stakeholders, including our major donors, community leaders, and project partners. It was vital to communicate transparently about the recent issues and the steps we had taken to resolve them. The first meeting was with a group of prominent donors. As I stood before them, I took a deep breath and began. "Thank you all for coming. I want to address the recent concerns and provide an update on our project status. We encountered some serious issues with financial sabotage, but we've taken decisive actions to address them and ensure the integrity of our work." I outlined the steps we had taken to investigate and resolve the issue, including the internal audit, increased security measures, and legal actions. The donors listened attentively, and I could see their concern gradually shifting to relief as I spoke. After the presentation, several donors approached me with words of support. "We appreciate your transparency and the measures you've put in place," one donor said. "It's reassuring to know that you're committed to maintaining the integrity of the project." The positive response from the donors was encouraging, but there was still work to be done. The next series of meetings focused on community leaders and project partners. I wanted to ensure that they felt confident in our ability to deliver on our promises and to address any lingering concerns. During these meetings, I emphasized our commitment to the community and the importance of our mission. I highlighted the positive outcomes we had achieved and shared success stories from the project. I also invited feedback and addressed any questions or concerns they had. The interactions were productive, and I could sense a renewed sense of trust and optimism among the community leaders and partners. They appreciated our openness and the tangible steps we had taken to safeguard the project's future. One afternoon, as I was wrapping up a meeting with a local business leader, I received a call from Eric Daniels. "Ryan, I wanted to touch base and discuss our next steps. How are things going with the rebuilding efforts?" "Things are moving in the right direction," I replied. "We're working on restoring trust and reinforcing our commitment to the project. I'm confident that we'll emerge stronger from this experience." Eric's voice was supportive. "I agree. The steps you've taken are crucial for rebuilding confidence. Let's continue to focus on our goals and make sure we're providing the best support possible." As we continued to work together, Eric and I found new opportunities to enhance the project's impact. We identified areas for improvement and developed strategies to strengthen our outreach and support efforts. The collaboration with Eric was instrumental in driving the project forward and ensuring its success. One evening, while reflecting on the progress we had made, I received a message from Megan Foster. "Ryan, I wanted to congratulate you on the successful rebuilding of trust. The project is making a significant difference, and your efforts have not gone unnoticed." I was grateful for her support and feedback. "Thank you, Megan. It's been a challenging journey, but the positive impact we're making is worth every effort." The project's success was evident in the growing number of businesses and communities benefiting from our support. The positive feedback and the renewed confidence from our stakeholders were a testament to the resilience and dedication of our team. As the project continued to thrive, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The challenges we had faced had strengthened our resolve and reinforced the importance of integrity and transparency. Rebuilding trust had been a crucial step, and it had set the stage for a bright and promising future. With the foundation of trust restored and the project on solid ground, I looked forward to the next chapter with optimism. The journey had been marked by ups and downs, but it had ultimately led to a place of growth and success. As we moved forward, I was committed to maintaining the highest standards and ensuring that our efforts continued to make a meaningful impact. The experience had been a powerful reminder of the value of perseverance and the importance of staying true to one's principles. With renewed determination and a clear vision for the future, I was ready to embrace the opportunities and challenges that lay ahead. As the initiative continued to gain traction and rebuild trust, I felt a sense of accomplishment. However, there was still one unresolved issue that loomed over everything: the lingering question of Vince and the personal impact of the betrayal. I knew that confronting Vince directly would be a necessary step to close this chapter of my life once and for all. The opportunity came sooner than expected. One afternoon, I received a call from Tom Carter. "Ryan, I've been in touch with Vince. He wants to meet with you to discuss some unresolved matters. He's requesting a face-to-face conversation." The request caught me off guard. Vince had been silent for months, and the idea of meeting with him stirred up old emotions. But I knew that addressing this issue was essential for my peace of mind and for moving forward. "All right," I said, trying to remain composed. "I'll agree to the meeting. Let's arrange a time and place." Tom helped facilitate the meeting, and we agreed on a neutral location, a quiet cafe where we could talk privately. The day of the meeting arrived, and as I walked into the cafe, I saw Vince sitting at a corner table. His demeanor was guarded but composed. "Vince," I said as I approached. "Thanks for agreeing to meet." Vince nodded and gestured for me to sit. "Ryan, I appreciate you taking the time. I wanted to talk about everything that's happened and try to find some resolution." I took a seat across from him, my emotions a mix of apprehension and resolve. "I'm listening," Vince began. "I know I've made a mess of things, and I regret my actions. The sabotage was a desperate measure to cover my tracks after everything fell apart. I've been dealing with the consequences, and it's been a rough time." His admission was raw and honest, but it didn't erase the pain or the damage done. "I need to understand why you thought betraying me and sabotaging the project was the solution." It's been a difficult road, and the impact on everyone involved was significant. Vince's expression was one of remorse. I let greed and desperation cloud my judgment. I was wrong, and I'm sorry for the pain I caused you, Ashley, and everyone else affected by my actions. We continued the conversation, addressing the fallout of his actions and the consequences he faced. Vince was forthcoming about his mistakes and the lessons he had learned, but the damage was done. The meeting provided a sense of closure, but it also reinforced the importance of maintaining personal and professional integrity. As the meeting concluded, Vince and I parted ways with a mutual understanding. It wasn't about forgiveness but rather about acknowledging the past and finding a way to move forward. The conversation marked the end of a difficult chapter, allowing me to focus on the future with a clearer sense of closure. In the days that followed, I took time to reflect on the meeting and the impact it had on me. The confrontation had been a necessary step in resolving lingering issues, and it provided a sense of closure that I had been seeking. With the past addressed, I could fully concentrate on the future and the continued success of the initiative. One evening, while reviewing the project's progress, I received a message from Ashley. "Ryan, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to reach out and say that I'm sorry for everything that happened. I've been trying to make amends and hope that we can both find a way to move forward." The message was unexpected, and it brought back a wave of memories. I appreciated her reaching out, but I knew that my focus needed to remain on the positive path ahead. I responded with a brief but sincere message. "Thank you for reaching out. I wish you the best as we both move forward." With the past settled and my focus on the future, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The challenges had been arduous, but they had led to growth, resilience, and a deeper understanding of the importance of integrity and perseverance. As I continued to work on the initiative and explore new opportunities, I carried with me the lessons learned from the journey. The experience had shaped me in ways I had not anticipated, and I was determined to use those lessons to create a lasting, positive impact. The final confrontation had brought closure to a difficult chapter, and with it came a renewed sense of clarity and resolve. The future was filled with possibilities, and I was ready to embrace them with optimism and determination. The journey had been challenging, but it had ultimately led to a place of growth and success, and I was eager to see where it would take me next. With the confrontation behind me and the project thriving, I was ready to embark on a new chapter of my life. The journey had been transformative, filled with challenges, revelations, and ultimately, a sense of accomplishment. As I looked to the future, it was time to reflect on what I had learned and consider the new opportunities that lay ahead. One morning, as I was preparing for a day of meetings, I received an email with the subject line, "Invitation to speak at the annual business summit." The summit was a prestigious event, and the opportunity to share my experiences and insights with a broader audience was both exciting and humbling. I accepted the invitation and began preparing my speech. The summit would provide a platform to discuss the journey of the initiative, the lessons learned from the challenges, and the importance of resilience and ethical leadership in business. It was an opportunity to inspire others and share the knowledge gained from overcoming adversity. As the day of the summit approached, I reflected on the impact the project had made. We had successfully expanded our outreach, supported numerous businesses, and revitalized communities. The initiative had not only addressed immediate needs but had also created a lasting legacy of positive change. The day of the summit arrived, and I stood backstage, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The venue was filled with professionals, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders, all eager to hear from the speakers. When it was my turn to take the stage, I took a deep breath and walked out to the podium. The audience was attentive as I began my speech. I shared the story of the initiative, highlighting the challenges we faced, the lessons learned from the sabotage, and the steps we took to rebuild trust and continue our mission. I spoke about the importance of maintaining integrity and the value of perseverance in the face of adversity. As I concluded my speech, the audience responded with enthusiastic applause. The experience was both validating and empowering, and I felt a deep sense of fulfillment knowing that my journey had resonated with others. After the speech, I received numerous positive responses and offers to collaborate on new projects. The summit had opened doors to exciting opportunities and connections, and I was eager to explore them. One evening, as I was reflecting on the summit and the new opportunities, I received a call from Sam Reynolds. "Ryan, congratulations on your speech. It was inspiring, and I'm excited about the potential collaborations we discussed. Thanks, Sam, I replied. The summit was a great experience, and I'm looking forward to exploring the new possibilities. Sam and I began working on several new initiatives, building on the success of the project and leveraging our combined expertise to create additional positive impact. The collaborations were fruitful, and they further solidified the principles of integrity and ethical leadership that had guided our work. As I continued to engage in these new ventures, I remained committed to the values that had defined the journey. The experience had taught me the importance of resilience, the power of collaboration, and the impact of staying true to one's principles. The future was bright, and I was ready to embrace it with optimism and determination. The challenges I had faced had shaped me into a stronger leader and had provided valuable lessons that I would carry forward. The new beginning was not just about the opportunities ahead but also about the growth and transformation that had come from overcoming adversity. With a renewed sense of purpose and a clear vision for the future, I looked forward to the next chapter of my life and career. The journey had been marked by ups and downs, but it had ultimately led to a place of growth, success, and meaningful impact. As I moved forward, I was excited about the possibilities and ready to continue making a positive difference in the world.